Hey, Green Machine friends and fans of fun. We are also a live comic shop at the same time, and we just had someone in that totally threw off my mojo. So I'm trying to get it back and get back to the reviews. I did want to thank Ryan for sending me this. It is a John Stewart. I can't really say the name. The name is, it's a bastardization of the F word, but it's by an artist named Byron, and I was super happy to get this. So thank you, Ryan, for that. That's amazing. That will be up at our cash wrap. And on top of that, let's just get right in. Wait. I have to be without Yogi for the next week. So if you come in, Yogi's not going to be here for the next 5 days. So I'll probably be pulling my hair out and screaming, and my head will be spinning in the corner. No, not really. But usually, most people know he is pretty much my sanity here. So he's going away to a wedding. And so I wish him a safe flight and a safe trip. And I hope everything goes according to plan. And he's back here, when, Monday? Monday. He'll be back Monday. Okay, so first book on our list is Harleen, and that's the Black Label. Now, if you know Harley, you know her as a really complex character in the fact that, she stopped a fight with Black Canary at one point when she found out Black Canary was pregnant, and then brought her gifts in the hospital. She called out Dr. Fate for taking the title of Doctor when he hadn't actually earned that moniker. So she is a super complex character. And, the Black Label makes sense. We all know the story. I mean, she winds up with Florence Nightingale syndrome and sort of falls for the Joker. And that's how everything goes from there. We know that story. We've seen it time and time again. But we haven't quite seen it like this. The details on her life are great. It's kind of a new angle on an old story. I loved everything about it. Everything about this, to include the fact that, she's working for Dr. Hugo Strange at one point, which, you know him as another villain too. It's fun to see. The art is amazing. It makes perfect sense for Black Label. On top of that, the fight between Batman and the Joker is... Honestly, I want to take all the screenshots from that fight in this book and make it like my phone wallpaper. It was amazing. So, again, the art is amazing. The story is great. Go pick this up. This is by, oh my God, Stjepan Stjepan Sejic. I'm sorry. I've murdered your name. That's my job here. Anyway, so go pick that book up. It's amazing. The next book is, it's Batgirl fighting Oracle, which is kind of weird considering they're both the same person. Yeah. So something happened and pretty much an AI sort of put itself into the form of Oracle and has taken that form and is very upset that old Barbara Gordon has completely forgotten part of herself. So that's the story. More importantly, You all know that Batgirl hangs out in Burnside, and Burnside, if you don't know, is a Gotham suburb that is, it's pretty much their version of Skid Row, and it was terrible for a long time, but recently it's gone the way of gentrification. It's become like Brooklyn, I guess, and it was kind of fun to see, but more importantly, that's a place that Batgirl cares about. And Oracle, being part of herself, knows that. So that might put her on a collision course with actual Burnside. It was a really fun read. This is Castellucci, Di Giandomenico, and Belair. And I had a pretty good time with this, issue number 39. So go pick this up if you're a Batgirl fan. If you're a Bat Family fan and you're looking to dip your toes in something else, this is actually a pretty good read. Next is one of my favorite Bat Family characters. Sort of the black sheep of the family, and that's Red Hood. And old Jason Todd decided to take Lex Luthor up on the offer, and he's going to be teaching, a bunch of kids. He's training the next generation of, villains. Doesn't quite... It kind of makes sense for his character because he's always sort of like faking that he's in the Gotham underworld, and that's pretty much what he's doing here with these kids. But what I really love about the story is the artwork. Like, the new characters are wild and a bit weird, and the art is just amazing. Like, this character Cloud9's powers are cool. There's this other character, he absorbs everything and sort of becomes metal, and I can't for the life of me remember his name. But anyways, he looks like this, and he's really, really cool. The art is amazing on these, but the other thing we're getting about these is we're getting Artemis and Bizarro's story as they're trapped in the other dimension. And that's really what I want as a Red Hood fan, is I want the Outlaws to come back. So he's got a new team. He's calling them the New Outlaws. Still waiting for Artemis and Bizarro to come back is all. But we're getting some of that story, so that's the exciting part. So Red Hood issue number 38, if you're a Red Hood fan, you will be perfectly happy with this issue. It's great. There's enough action and fun that it entertained me. But the art, man, something about it is really cool.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So being that Lex is the one doing all this stuff, now he is in charge of these kids, do you think he's actually going to bring them to the light side?
I'm sure that's his goal. Yeah. Jason Todd never does what any other criminal wants him to do. That's not his jam. In fact, he never does what any other hero wants him to do. That's not his jam either.
What does he do? I don't know.
He does whatever the heck he wants. If you tell Jason Todd that he's going to go forward, he's going 3 steps backwards every damn time. All right. Next is another book that is low-grade porn. Wow. Fight Club 3. Wow. Okay. So I had a little bit of issues with the last book being, well, a little weird, a little confusing, and not sorting it out. I mean, we only have 10 issues. I think it's 10 issues. We might go past that. But the last Fight Club 2 is 10 issues. And not a lot of it has been sorted. There's another group. That other group has built a pyramid sex scheme, which basically involves infecting other people by sleeping with them. And if you don't have 1 million, you will be enslaved by a certain time. And so, Marla's got to sort of resort to Chloe, her friend Chloe, who is actually... in the original Fight Club story, was a cancer victim who was trying to get laid. Yeah. There's a lot of adult in this story. I'm sorry. Not for the kids at all. However, the art is amazing, but this issue is very, very raunchy. Like I was blushing and lowering my head the whole time. There is a lot of naked people of all shapes and all ages in this issue. By ages, I mean old people, not young people. That would be really wrong. But it's very adult. I'm not sure where Chuck Palahniuk is going with this. I'm hoping he's going to get deep in the next issue. Because, I mean, I think it's over at 10, and this is not wrapped up at all. I'm a bit confused. So, we'll just have to wait and see. If you like a lot of smut in your comic, go ahead and read Fight Club.
You had problems with this in last Fight Club too, right?
I did. I had problems with the end of Fight Club 2. I very much did, and it was right around the same time, about book 7, where I started going, I'm not sure what's going on here, and this is the same thing. I mean, this was almost, at times, it was almost perverse for the sake of being perverse, is what it felt like. But that's how Chuck Palahniuk is. If you've read his books, he's really, really wild. So, yeah, that's what you get when you read a comic by Chuck Palahniuk. So, yeah. Yeah, we've gotten through that segment, and hopefully we never get to revisit it. I hope the next issue is not like that. Okay. Whew, deep breath. I need a palate cleanser after that, man.
Yeah. Airborne, we used to say, slip away.
Mm-hmm. That, as much as I love Chuck Palahniuk as a writer, that comic is really not my jam. Okay, so next is TMNT City at War, and this is this can't be issue 9, this is like 90 something. Yeah, it's covered up. So the city has been at war, and technically in the last one, Splinter lost. He lost control of the Foot Clan, and while Leonardo is struggling with the Hamato clan, mostly because Raphael keeps running with the Mutanimals. The Mutanimals being ran by this guy, Hobb. Well, that all sort of comes to a head. At the same time, Jenica, who was dating Casey Jones, man, what a tangled web this is, she needed a blood transfusion to save her life, and it had to be a blood transfusion with one of the turtles and the ooze, which transformed her into Jenica, the yellow bandana ninja turtle, which is cool to see. I like her theme, and her look is really awesome. They didn't just go for regular Ninja Turtle. She's got some flair in there. It's just, there's a lot of pieces in play. I'm not sure that you would be totally comfortable jumping in on this issue, but is it a good issue? It's great. It's awesome. Well, I really can't talk much more about it without spoiling it. But it's pretty much just the clans realizing where they have to be and sort of coming to terms that things might not always be as they seem. And that's the best I'm going to do for you. I really think everyone should be in on this TMNT run because it's been awesome. Like, really, really, really good. However, I will freely admit that this issue is a bit confusing to jump in on. Maybe go pick up the one before this or wait until the next one. But it's still a really fun issue. Plus, you get that cool gecko. And sadly, there is no Herman the Hermit Crab in this comic. I looked for him, and that character is easily my favorite character, and he's not in this. So,
You could tell them about what's coming up in December.
Issue number 100?
No, the crossover.
Oh, which crossover?
Power Rangers.
Oh, Power Rangers TMNT is crossing over? I knew that, didn't I?
Yeah, you knew that.
I don't remember it. Power Rangers TMNT is crossing over in December. I can't wait to see.
Yeah.
Next is a really, really weird book. It was weird. This is Ether. Ether is, well, it's sort of like you take a soldier who is kind of grizzled and you throw him in a world that centers around gods and demons. Well, gods, good gods and bad gods, I guess you could say. And someone gets kidnapped, so he's got to go find him. And to do so, he's sort of got to travel with other monsterific characters. I don't think that's a word, but that's sort of what it is. It's a weird book. It was a weird book, and it was sort of all over the place. Now, the art, I kind of like the art. I think it's the same artist that did Little Bird. So the art was all right. The story was just sort of strange and all over the place. However, there were people that really loved Little Bird, and I'm pretty sure that Matt Kind and David Rubin are the same two people that worked on Little Bird. So if you like that comic, you'll probably love Ether. For me, it's just, it was a bit too wild for my taste. And I don't know, maybe I just like a little more sci-fi than this. It was kind of really fantasy and sort of, but not normal fantasy. I don't know how to describe it. Deity fantasy, which is not my jam. So Ether number 1, if you think that'll interest you, come pick it up. If you think you like the art, come pick it up. Just come thumb through it and check it out, see if it's your jam. So. Next on our list is The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 30, Absolute Carnage. Now, this issue in particular was actually really, really good. It centers around Norman Osborn and a lesser-known character called Kindred. Do you know who Kindred is? Yeah, Kindred is sort of a wicked fellow. I'm trying to think of details on him, and I really, really can't. He's sort of changed his body type, and I don't know how to describe it, like rotting, sinister corpse-ish with a giant centipede or two hanging out off his body. Like, he's really creepy looking, which is why I like the character so much. Hang on, let me find him. I'll find a picture of him. This guy right here, Kindred. Yeah. So he's super creepy. So it centers around them, and it centers around Norman Osborn, but more importantly, Norman Osborn with the Carnage symbiote, and he's the messed up in the head one that sort of thinks he's Carnage. And it has, Peter Parker trying to defend Dylan and little Normie Osborn from him. And honestly, this was the best Absolute Carnage read this week, which is weird to say because the other Absolute Carnage Miles Morales I really, really wanted to like more, but it just wasn't as good as this. This was just a good showing. Granted, there's a ton of action, and anyone who knows me knows that I tend to favor the books with a lot of action. But it was a great read. This is Spencer Otley, Rathburn, and Fairburn. If you know what you get with an Amazing Spider-Man stuff, and you shouldn't be jumping in on Absolute Carnage here, but if you've been into Absolute Carnage, you know exactly what you're getting with this book, and it was a good showing, so come pick this up. Next is Batman Superman, and this involves the Shazam Who Laughs, which, what a jerk to do that to Billy Batson. Like, What a gigantic jerk.
Pretty
And
wild, man.
and since it's the Batman Who Laughs that did that, like he knew. Well, then again, he's infected all those other Robins from those other universe, so he doesn't care. Yeah, not at all. So, and it was hinted in the first issue that we were going to see a Superman Who Laughs. So, does it happen in this issue? I don't know. You're going to have to come pick it up. I will say this. The storyline is good. It involves, well, the Batman Who Laughs has some batarangs that are tainted with nth metal, and each one has this hero symbol on it, and he's going after specific heroes. And I think he said there's 6 more. My guess is he's trying to turn all of the Justice League, but that's just my guess. But Batman and Superman kind of have to figure out where he's going, what his next move is. And it was great. It was great. Honestly, it was a really, really fun ride. I had a good time with it. The action was good. I was not disappointed with the end, and I don't think you will be either. So Batman, Superman, issue number 2, go pick this up. This is a great showing. Next is another great showing. Honestly, Batman books these days are so good, but this one especially. As far as like the detective stuff, this is amazing. So if you haven't been following Curse of the White Knight, I'll wrap it up for you. Joker has put Azrael into play, convincing him that, well, the Waynes back in the day killed his forefather and pretty much stole all of Gotham from him. So it's sort of put them on the path. But more importantly, it goes into the fact that Joker found a hidden chamber at Arkham Asylum, and that held Lafayette Arkham. That was his name, Lafayette Arkham. And the Joker decided to pattern his vengeance after Lafayette Arkham. You see what they're doing here? Laffy. The Joker is patterning himself after someone named Laffy. And meanwhile, Batman is sort of following in the footsteps of his predecessor, well, I guess his ancestor, who came to Gotham because he wanted to, well, make a region stabilized and free of crime. He failed at that pretty miserably. But, wow, we were messing up the camera thing right here, the tablet thing. But anyways, so that's pretty much the storyline for Curse of the White Knight. I've probably messed it up a little bit. But this involves also Harley. And Harley is, well, she's pregnant with twins. And she's sort of coming to terms that, well, Jack Napier, who is the Joker of this universe, is not himself. And she's got to figure out a way to get through to him and bring him back out of the Joker persona. Meanwhile, there's a lot of other cogs in play. A lot of Gotham's elites are pressing the button, trying to get things passed and trying to keep Batman from revealing his identity, which is very strange. The storyline is great, and it reads like a very, very deep detective novel, which I think this guy, Sean Murphy and Matt Hollingsworth, they took forever to get this story out, and they kept promising it, but it's not disappointing me at all. It's an amazing detective story, which is exactly what we want from Batman. So, anyways, Batman, Curse of the White Knight, this is part 3. Go pick this up. Next is something that totally took me by surprise. So we've been dealing with the Avengers having the battle of the Ghost Riders. Good old Johnny Blaze is going to race Robbie Reyes, and if Robbie Reyes wins, he loses the Ghost Rider persona and goes back to his regular life. So they're doing that in hell. Meanwhile, whoops, Johnny Blaze teleported the Cosmic Ghost Rider to Avengers Mountain, who has mixed everything up and seems to think that the Avengers are the reason everything's going wrong. So he's trying to basically kick their butts to get back at Johnny Blaze. And that doesn't really go as planned. More importantly, you get to see Blade versus Cosmic Ghost Rider, which Cosmic Ghost Rider is super OP, but Blade does not mess around. So that was a great matchup. This whole book was awesome. I had such a good time. Last book, I was super invested in the race between Johnny Blaze and Robbie Reyes. And in this book, I didn't care so much about that. I was more interested in Cosmic Ghost Rider versus all of the Avengers. That was like lots of fun. So anyways, go pick this up. This was an awesome showing. I had a great time. It honestly might be my pick of the week. Go figure. Jason Aaron, Caselli, Vecchio, and Keith. Great showing on this book, guys. Had a good time. Next is a really awesome book that no one buys, and it makes me sad. And that's Freedom Fighters. This is Freedom Fighters, issue number 9. And, well, Let's see. Good old Condor has started the revolution in Detroit to free all the people that are enslaved there and fight the Ratsies. Meanwhile, he's trying to get the Plastic Man serum because the Plastic Man is spelled with 2 S's for Secret Service in this world. And that's not a good thing. All the Plastic Men in this world are terrible. So, anyways, that's the plan. Does it go according to plan? No, not at all. Everything gets messed up. But it was a really, really fun ride. I really do like... I think it's honestly the soldier in me, but whoever's writing this is really tuned in because they get to these points where they're like, okay, something has gone wrong with this plan. We need to frago this. Now, that's a military term, but it's just they need to come up with a separate plan and figure a way around it. It's great writing. There is flaws in combat. It makes perfect sense for this story, and it's well told. Like, these characters are flawed, the combat is flawed, the plan is flawed, but it works out. It's fun. It's exciting. So if you haven't been reading Freedom Fighters, go pick this up. It's a great read. Issue number 9 will not disappoint. Yeah. Was that good?
That's good.
That's good. I did a good job. All right. Next is Punisher Kill Crew. Punisher pretty much doesn't have a plan here. His plan is, I'm going to go murder all these creatures from the other realms that when they invaded during the War of the Realms, they killed all these kids' parents. So he had the kids draw all these creatures, and he's hunting them down one by one. And it's brutal, brilliant, and fun. I laughed out loud several times. He's found the Juggernaut, and he's got to rescue the Juggernaut, and that's going to put Juggernaut on the team, along with him, along with Froggy, Daredevil's, court accomplice, I guess. You can't really call him a sidekick. Is he a sidekick? Does Froggy count as a Daredevil sidekick?
I mean, why not?
Yeah, kind of. And the goat. Thor's goat. Thor's goat makes this issue for me. Thor's goat was the reason I laughed so hard. Well, that and Juggernaut. Juggernaut is a big softie sometimes. But Punisher Kill Crew, go figure. This is Jerry Duggan, Juan Feria. It's great. It's awesome. I do happen to have a soft spot in my heart for everything Jerry Duggan writes. He writes action so well. And seeing the Punisher pick people apart, the Punisher in this issue makes the Juggernaut vomit from what he does. That alone is worth picking up this issue, in my opinion. Go pick this up. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how you shock the Juggernaut. Like, you just assume he's seen everything at one point or another.
I mean, I'm sure he's ran through people.
Yeah, just... There's no way he hasn't seen everything, and somehow the Punisher got to him. This next book is by Tini Howard, German Peralta, Jordi Belair, and that is Marvel Strike Force. Well, it took an interesting take. The beginning of this book shows people holding up, biological agents in chemical test tubes and toasting them and saying, to the end of the world. And it's assumed that they're drinking them. Yeah, not really sure. So then the Avengers sort of home in on what's going on, and they rip open the room where these people are supposedly trapped while everything is, the entire base is going crazy. And it turns out there are, more Avengers and sidekicks in there. So they're a little confused. And that leads them to realize that what they're dealing with is changelings that have sort of played a trick. And the only person that understands it is Blade, but for whatever reason, he can't tell the Avengers. And I can't spoil it more than that. I've already probably spoiled too much, but that's really just the beginning. It's a good story. It's a wild story. I do want to know how it turns out. The art, I kind of think that the art was the weakest part of the story for me. The art, although, okay, I will say this. The art was not my favorite art. I don't know. At times it was a little too gritty. But we get Blade talking about his past. And when he talks about his past, it's 70s Blade, which is awesome to me. So while the art I was kind of on the fence about, 70s Blade is in this book. Go pick it up. Anyways, issue number 1, Strike Force. Had a really good time with it. Come check this one out.
It's got those cool blocker glasses.
Oh, it's so cool. It just goes running with that green jacket, like green and yellow. It's so weird, but it works. It really does work. Okay. Next book is one I was super happy to review because the last time it left us on a cliffhanger. Something hit the Daily Planet and sent a bunch of, cement and the globe flying. And it turns out it was Naomi. The reason it was Naomi is because, she decided she was going to go fly to Metropolis. And then halfway through, she realized she can't fly. And she bounced off the roof of a dirty Burger King, she said. and she doesn't really know how to fly is what it is. So she winds up crashing into the Daily Planet. Superman and Batman are there, and she explains that she just got her powers like a half hour ago. So the events of Naomi number 6 pick right up in Action Comics, and it was awesome. I had a really, really good time with it. But you guys have to take it with a grain of salt because I really love the character Naomi. I loved everything about that book, and I'm just happy to see her here in the big show in Action Comics. It was great to see Batman and Superman decide to help her figure out what her power set is, what her limitations are, and go from there. And then meanwhile, it sort of sets the stage for another character to be the counterbalance, maybe her nemesis beyond the one that we've already seen in the Naomi book. And that was actually cool to see. It kind of makes sense. If you've been reading Action Comics, there's a certain red character that's been a villain for a while, and she does, in a lot of ways, seem the opposite of Naomi. So I kind of think that was intentional and well-planned on Bendis' part. But anyways, go pick up Action Comics 1015. Don't even think about it. Just go pick it up. Naomi is such an awesome, fun character. The best parts about it is Superman is like, flex your knees, and then we're going to try flying again. And they go off flying, and you see, like, Superman dead center in the shot, canted a little bit off to the side. And you see Naomi, like, legs up in the air off to one side, and then the next shot, he's still canted, like, same spot. Naomi's, like, a halfway a different angle. So it was just really fun. Go check this out.
And it's her first appearance in Action Comics.
It's her first appearance in Action Comics, and we do know, it is confirmed, she's going to be in Young Justice. And you need to pick up that issue because that again, the cover of that issue is amazing. Like, I loved it.
Was she on the last page of the last comic? Oh, man, I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was 2 months.
All right.
That's what they said.
Okay.
But the cover looks amazing. This one does too. In fact, I like the other cover, the cardstock too. Yeah. But that one's really cool looking too. I might just pick them both up. Anyways. Next is, Batman Detective Comics. Now, we knew because we peeked ahead, and most people did, but we all knew that, Mr. Freeze was going to unfreeze Nora Fries, his wife, that's been frozen, how long? Since the 90s? Early 90s? 20, 30 years? Anyways, so he was going to unfreeze her for the first time since then. Maybe not. There might be something else in play. Basically, what's happened is Lex Luthor has given in the offer has given his gift to Mr. Freeze as a way to unfreeze his wife. But Mr. Freeze, he doesn't take chances. He doesn't like taking chances. So he's gonna test this out a bit. So I'm not sure. If peeking ahead, we actually saw good old Mrs. Freeze in play. We might have seen something else. Maybe something. I can't really spoil it, but what I can say is this is actually some pretty fun writing coming out of Detective Comics right now, and it's a bit stronger lately too. This is Tomasi Monkey Mendoza and Baron, and it's a good showing. The art, again, I don't know, something about it is almost too gritty at times, but I still had a really good time with it. So anyways, Detective Comics issue number 1012. Go pick this up. More importantly because it's the beginning of this whole Mr. Freeze stuff, and I really want to see what's going to happen, and I imagine if you're a DC head, you probably really want to know too. So next is Black Panther, the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda, which I have not masked that I didn't like a lot of the space stuff that was going on in Black Panther. It wasn't my jam for a long time until it got near the end, and then it started to feel like The Last Starfighter, and I really love that. But what we do know is that, Killmonger's got a suit, and it's a symbiote suit of sorts. No, not of sorts. It's an actual symbiote suit, which I can't think of anything scarier than to give that to Nijidaka. Yeah, I gotta get those names right. But what I loved about this, Black Panther, first of all, he's back on Earth. He's reconnected with his gal Storm. And more importantly, there's so much good action. There is a lot of intrigue. That's one thing that Coates does really, really well. Ta-Nehisi Coates, he writes these deep, intricate plots, and they come to fruition. And usually, I don't like a lot of his buildup, and clearly that's the case with this intergalactic Empire of Wakanda stuff. Was I didn't like the buildup, but when he delivers, my God, there is a lot of good action, and those stories when they peak are fun, and that's just what's going on with this. This thing is peaking right now. So Black Panther issue number 16, a great read. Go pick this up. Hey, in our next book, since we were talking about Ta-Nehisi Coates, let's talk about another book who, again, I hated the build-up. I couldn't stand it, and that was Captain America. For so long, it felt like they were just tearing him down, and every other page was like somebody calling him Captain Hydra. I hated it. I couldn't stand that build-up. I got disenchanted with the book for a long time. However, this stuff coming out of him right now are so good. This is good writing. It's really, really fun. This is Steve Rogers has sort of decided to put Captain America to rest and has taken the moniker of Steve Rogers. And he's got, new more high-tech shield? I'm messing up words right now. That's how tired I am. But the shield feels a little more high-tech. It's cool looking. More importantly, he's got a new team, and that's the Ladies of Liberty, I think is their name, if I remember correctly. I loved it. I had such a good time with it. I had such a good time with the last one. This is, even though he's Steve Rogers, he's not Cap right now, is what he's calling himself. This is the Cap book I wanted. It's so good. Again, this is when Coates peaks, man, he really, really does a good job, and it really reminds you what you loved about that character, and he's doing it again with both Black Panther and Captain America right now. These are just phenomenal books. So this is Ta-Nehisi Coates, Nico Walter, Matt Milla. Go pick this one up. It's great. I don't know which one's better, the Black Panther or the Captain America. They're both really awesome this week. That was great. I think the big one, Black Panther, is Storm gets to do what Storm does in that issue, and anytime that happens, I tend to love that book. Next is, there's a lot of people on this book, and that's Maguire, Quinn, Wong, Rowe, Cresta, Fermancia, Rosenberg, and Nivila. I hope I pronounced that last name correctly. And that is Fearless. Fearless is a collection of tales involving, female superheroes. And it tends to be like, it always feels like one or two really good stories, and then one that's a little cheesy. I don't know why that is. It seems like that's the recipe. When you've got three stories, it's always two really good ones and one that's sort of, So the first story centers around, what do you do when your science project summons a bunch of invading frog extraterrestrials? What do you do? I don't know. Yeah. Call the French. That was a Frog's Legs joke. Anyways, so I don't know. I had a really good time. The stories were fun. There wasn't a lot of depth to them, but they were fun. The last story, however, it had Jubilee in it, and when I was a little kid, for whatever reason, even though I wasn't a big X-Men fanboy, I really liked Jubilee. I think it's the hard light thing. Because she has, hard light powers, even though they're sort of rainbow, and, Green Lantern is kind of my jam. So maybe that was it. I'm not entirely sure. But so the last story does have Jubilee in it, which I thought was awesome. But these stories are really, really good. As far as the three-part sort of split book type storyline, I guess formula you could call it, this is top-notch. This was really fun. The art was great. I had a great time with it. And this book has a lot of love, and it shows. It shows. More importantly, I got to tell you, Captain Marvel really is she's a pilot, but she's a soldier. She wakes up in the morning and she's like, I need coffee. I loved it. They write that character really well. Had a great time with this. Go pick it up. Fearless. Issue number 2. Next is Marvel Comics Presents, and Well, I wanted to like this book, but something about it really, really bothered me, and I can't quite put my finger on. This Wolverine looks really strange. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. He looks like Trailer Park Wolverine. I couldn't unsee it. It really, really drove me nuts. My God, it's weird. So Marvel Comics presents. Look, the first story, for whatever reason, the art on the first story really, really drove me nuts. It wasn't my jam. And if you're kind of an art snob like me, you probably won't like it. The story was good. It involved Wolverine helping some sorcerers. Sorcerers? Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. I don't think I've ever been able to pronounce that word right. But he's helping a sort of family of sorceresses. I'm never going to get it right. All right. So that story, it was a good story. I didn't have a bad time with the story. The art, I hated. I couldn't stand it. The second story, again, was a pretty good story. Well, the story was kind of cheesy, but the art was good. And that one was about, well, /U/Wolverine. And that's the cyberpunk version of Wolverine, who is in cyberspace. And that's weird. So, okay. I think Wolverine, whatever his username is, should have 3 slashes. Maybe 6. Yeah. Anyways, Marvel Comics presents. The art was kind of weak on one story, and the writing was kind of weak on the other story. But, come pick it up. If you like that sort of thing, or you feel like it's your jam, come pick it up. Next is Miles Morales, Absolute Carnage, and I think I said that I felt like this was the weakest of the Absolute Carnage books, and I don't know, maybe it's kind of my biases. If you don't know, Miles got infected by a Carnage symbiote, and I guess it sort of makes sense because he's probably the only person who hasn't interacted with symbiotes that much in the I don't know, what do you call them, the spider family? What do you call a group of spiders? A swarm? A nest? But anyway, so I think he's the only one that hasn't interacted with the symbiote. I could be mistaken. But, so he got infected by Carnage in like the last issue of Absolute Carnage, issue number 2. And so he's very Carnage-like, but at the same time he's sort of fighting it. And I don't know, it kind of bothers me to see Miles like that. Maybe it's just I like Miles too much to see him infected by Carnage. I don't know. We knew we were gonna have to break some eggs in this event, and it was gonna happen. But why did it have to be Miles? I don't know. Anyways, so that, of course, that's gonna hit Spider-Man pretty hard because well, he loves Miles, and why did I say Spider-Man? Spider-Man is Miles. I meant that's going to hit Peter Parker's Spider-Man really hard because he loves Miles. Yes, that's what I meant to say. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense for the story, but I don't know. It was a good story, and more importantly, you get some J. Jonah Jameson in it, being J. Jonah Jameson, and that's always good. This is Ahmed Vincentini and Archianega, and it's a good showing, guys. Maybe that's the point of this book. Maybe it's to be a little painful, and it worked. So come pick this up. Absolute Carnage, Miles Morales. Next is, well, this is a weird one to review. This is the 50th anniversary, it says, of Scooby Doo Team Up. And this is, I don't know, they've teamed up 50 times or something? Or?
Oh, no, I think it's just Scooby Doo in general. That's just 50 years.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, they said that Batman and Scooby-Doo had teamed up a certain number of times. So that was in this issue. More importantly, what's in this issue is, well, name a version of Scooby-Doo's. Go ahead, name another version.
Like Scrappy-Doo?
Scrappy-Doo's in this. Okay. Guess what else?
I can't remember.
Think of other versions of Scooby's.
Like there's that one version that's kind of slow.
Okay, how about Scooby Apocalypse?
Oh God.
It's in this book.
Okay.
How about movie Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and all them? It's in this book.
Oh my God.
How about Scooby Kids? in this book. I'm pretty sure there is every iteration of Scooby in this, and more importantly, when they encounter the Scooby Apocalypse gang, they're like, "Man, you guys are really messed up." But Scooby Team Up had a really good time with it. But I kind of favor Hanna-Barbera and DC stuff. But more importantly, you get Batmite, and Batmite always steals the show. So, anyways, Scooby Team Up issue number 50, good showing. If you have to like Scooby Doo though, if you don't like Scooby Doo, totally skip it. Next is this is Kylo Ren being Kylo Ren. No, actually, this is. I'm really underselling it. This was a really, really good story. It centers around, Vader went to go sway a species to join his empire, and when he showed up, he actually failed. And he failed because that species itself had a god that showed up, something they worshipped, which was a rather sinister creature. And Vader lost that fight. Well, Kylo is going through and doing the exact same thing, trying to convince them, and he may or may not lose that fight. I don't know. Does he come up short or does he make it? You're going to have to read the book to find out. Was this a great story? It was awesome. It introduced some cool new characters in the Star Wars universe that I've never seen before. It was a really awesome fight. It fleshed out Kylo Ren a lot more. Honestly, this was maybe the best Age of Resistance book I've read so far, which was weird to say because I love the Boba Fett one. So, go pick this one up. It was great. Kylo Ren, issue number 1. Issue number 1. I say that like it's not a one-shot. It's a one-shot. Next is a book that is going to haunt me in my dreams forever, and that's Dudley Do-Right. If you don't know, there used to be a place called Bullwinkle's that, a comedian, Jason Mack, the other day was on Facebook, and he said there was a place called Bullwinkle's that was exactly like Chuck E. Cheese in Santa Clara, except for it was dark and filled with fountains and creepier. And yeah, that's pretty much Bullwinkle's, and I used to work there. And he then asked me if it haunted me more than Iraq, and he's not wrong. So I review these books because, the cartoons do have kind of a special place in my heart, and it was part of growing up working a terrible job with terrible plays. And, what do you get with this? You get a Dudley Do-Right cartoon. And I mean, it is a legit Dudley Do-Right cartoon. It's broken down, but the art looks like it's straight ripped. I mean, it almost looks like it's ripped frame by frame from a cartoon. It's really, really sort of well done. It's got that humor. If you like Rocky and Bullwinkle, you'll like this stuff. This is a perfect book for kids, younger kids, maybe not tweens or teens. I don't think this would be their jam. And it's a perfect book if you want to go down those nostalgia roads. So Dudley Do-Right of the Mounties, it's pretty good. Next is, the Wolverine Annual by Hauser, Borgs, Menez, and Merva. And this one was, it was sort of, Logan's got to go through his past and right some wrongs, and at one point he dealt with a lady who was possessed with a witch, and the lady that was possessed was somebody that he was in love with when he was in the 1920s, I guess.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's kind of funny. He goes to meet up with her and confront her, and this guy's like, "Man, she's 100 years old. Can you imagine?" And Wolverine's just like. So, had a couple good laughs from this book. I mean, it's an annual. I don't think it really applies to anything that's going on with the Hickman run. So, if you just want more Wolverine in your life, you will be perfectly happy with this. If you want something that's tied to that House of X or Powers of X storyline, this is not it at all. This is just a regular annual that's sort of going through the mythos of Wolverine. Pretty good showing. The art, too. I didn't even review the art. The art was actually pretty good. Something about this art actually I really liked. I liked their use of light and shadow. It just worked out well for it. Next is another book that absolutely loves light and shadow, like blacker than black shadow, or brighter than bright light, and that is Deadly Class. Now, keep in mind, this centers around the fact that the German character, I can't remember his name, it's going to drive me nuts, but he's the axe-wielding barbarian of the school, and he lost his girlfriend Petra. Petra actually came from, her family was in a religious cult, So he goes to confront this religious cult along with one of the other schoolmates, and it's a wild ride. It was just insane. There was a lot of sudden violence, and it felt right. For a Deadly Class book, it was perfect. More importantly, you have Saya and the other classmates sort of coming back together and having another reunion, and that was great to see too. Anyways, so Deadly Class issue number 40 does not disappoint, but Remender, Craig, and Boyd, they love a lot of action and blood. So if you don't like action and blood, you probably don't like Deadly Class. Or you're allergic to fun, I don't know. Deadly Class is really fun. Next is DC's Year of the Villain, Evil Unleashed, and that is the Flash. Now, old Flash has got a problem because the Black Flash keeps appearing and killing users of the other forces. He's gotten the Sage Force guy. He killed him last issue. Flash wasn't fast enough to save him. And thankfully, that did strengthen the Speed Force. So it might not be the death of the Speed Force yet. But the Black Flash is still going after the other Force users, and Flash has got to counter that. This Flash run has been fun. It's been great. Granted, Flash is not really my hero. I freely admit it. He's never really been my full jam, I guess you could say. But issue number 79 of The Flash is a totally good Flash story, and if you love the Speedsters, you will have a great time with this issue. They do flesh out a little bit more, and they involve that Still Force character, which looks really cool. The hooded Still Force guy. He feels very Jedi-ish. I guess you'd have to feel Jedi-ish, because if your power was just
Not moving.
I freeze everything, you have to be very sort of...
Be calm.
Yeah, be calm. Have hope. Am I echoing like Blue Lanterns now? Have hope, Algernon.
You're good, man. You're good.
Next is, Year of the Villain, Justice League, and you can tell from the cover, it's the Injustice League Dark. That's a good showing. So Cersei's putting together her own team, and she's very much powered up by the witch mark. You can tell by her headband there. And her team includes, this new Bloom character. I can't remember. He's not Bloom. Bloom was an old New 52 character. I can never remember this guy's name. But he basically stole the power of the, the flowers of... No, not the flowers of Algernon. The circle of flowers, whatever, which used to be the circle of trees. The congregation of trees. I can never remember Swampy's home turf. Anyways, so it's got that character. It's got Solomon Grundy, which I really love Solomon Grundy, although this version is, he's sort of lobotomized. He doesn't say much. He's really messed up. That's kind of sad to see, because I always like Solomon Grundy's jam. He just gets up there and he's like, Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, smashing Batman. Isn't that how I Am Gotham opened? The whole Batman run opened with that. I'm pretty sure it did. But, so it's cool to see. Cersei's putting together a team. It doesn't really take center stage in this book. They're sort of coming to terms that they're going to have to be dealing with Cersei and trying to get the Parliament of Flowers. That's what it is. The Parliament of Flowers, because it replaced the Parliament of Trees. But I love everything about this Justice League Dark Run. They've retooled magic. It has been fun. It has been believable. They've retooled magic 4 times now. It's the world is grappling. They've got magic whiplash at this point, because the rules keep changing every night. The rules of chaos magic change every night at exactly 2 a.m. Exactly. Okay. It's very, very firm and orderly in that manner. No. Eastern Pacific, of course. We're making up our own rules for DC's magic users. Anyways, so Year of the Villain, Evil Unleashed. This is Justice League Dark, issue number 15. This is Tinian the Fourth. Oh, we got to congratulate that guy. Yeah. Tinian the Fourth, Martinez Bueno, Fernandez, and Anderson. This was a great read. Also, Tinian the Fourth will be replacing King. It's going to be replacing King on book 86 of Batman, which hurts a bit, but we know Tinian writes pretty darn well. He's been going back and forth with Snyder's Justice League. And in fact, there have been times where I picked up some of Snyder's Justice League and Tinian's been filling in and I've like thought it was Snyder. So he's a pretty darn good writer, and I'm happy to see that he's going to be continuing Batman, even though I got to say King is my favorite so far. So that's just my jam. So anyways, issue 15, Justice League Dark, is a good read. Next is something I knew nothing about. That's October Faction, which apparently is a Netflix series that is coming, and I'm super intrigued after reading this. This book read pretty much like Addams Family crossed with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It was really intriguing. I wanted to know more about these characters. The brother and the sister felt very, well, Pugsley and Wednesday Addams in that they trapped a ghost at one point. I think it was a ghost. And they were like, ooh, she's spooky. I'll release her later. It's fine. Like, it was a really, really fun showing. Go figure, Steve Niles and then Damian Worm. The art was amazing. I really did get a Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark vibe, which I think is what they were going for. The kids have certain powers that shows from the beginning. The kids are way more creepier than the adults. The adults at one point had hunted monsters and hunted vampires, and it seems like they might have been infected. I don't know. It's sort of hinted. I want to know more. There's a lot of like questions I have after reading this, but that's really just the sign of a good storyteller because he wanted those questions there. So October Faction, issue number 1. Go pick this up. This is by IDW, and it was a great, great showing. I was honestly shocked by how good it was. I had a good time with it. I want to know so much more.
Before we opened the shop, we knew that Netflix was going to be doing their own comic lines.
They
Like
were.
IDW?
So Netflix, when we opened the shop, they were doing that comics line for the Magic Order, which I get their mentality of it. They saw that their comic shows that they were doing, which were Marvel centric, were really selling. So they thought, well, if we control a full IP, and we have everything tied to that brand, then we control everything. We get all the money. But the Magic Order sucked. It sucked. I tried watching that show and it was not good. So yeah. But, this one, they might have hit something out of the park. I haven't seen the show. I need to go look up the show, and I'll get back to you on that. Next is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple. This centers around the video game that is coming, where you get to play a Jedi. In between, I think it's between the old saga and the new saga is when it takes place. And this is Rosenberg, Villanelli, and Prianto. And I haven't hid that I love Rosenberg's Punisher run. I absolutely have. And it's nice to see him writing action and writing Jedi action, because he writes action really well. Like, he's just one of the best action writers I've ever seen. Like, and there's a good amount of just humor in his writing that just feels right and well placed. So anyway, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple. Had a really good time with this. It opened with the Sith Inquisitor and a Padawan who has lost her master. I'm starting to think that maybe the Padawan becomes the Sith Inquisitor. I don't know. I think that's probably the hook. Maybe I've spoiled it for you, but I'm guessing myself. So anyways, issue number 2, go pick this up.
After 66, the majority of the Jedi who stuck around went that side. Yeah.
Is that true? I never knew that a lot of them fell to the dark side.
Yeah,
I knew.
not a lot, but enough for them to make a dent.
Well, I knew some of them fell like to the gray Jedi, where they sort of like gave up the ways and sort of found like a middle ground at times.
One of the temple guards ended up actually being the main Inquisitor.
Really?
Wow, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, next is Wonder Woman, and this is G. Willow Wilson, Eaton Falker?
Watch your mouth, mister.
Faucher. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry if you maybe heard me curse, kind of. Marsden Jr., Fajardo Jr., and this is Wonder Woman, and what do you do when love dies and hate thrives? Well, Cheetah got herself a good old God-Killer sword from Lex, which is weird because she already dipped her claws in like God-Killer stuff and killed Poseidon in Drowned Earth, right? She totally did. So why does she need a God-Killer sword now? I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, she has a God-Killer sword, and she used it to kill Aphrodite, and now love has died. And everyone around the world has found themselves feeling a bit, I don't know, like eating a bunch of chocolate and crying while watching old movies and wishing they'd taken more pictures.
That's oddly specific.
Isn't that the breakup jam? No, but love's pretty much dying around the world, and people are getting a little hateful and mean, and Wonder Woman's got to figure out a way around it. And so that's Wonder Woman. It was a really good issue. I've had a lot of fun with this arc, which is good because we talked about how a few issues back it was like, yeah, furries in Washington D.C. type stuff. It just didn't feel like it was a bit aimless. Yeah, it was a bit aimless, and now it's found its way. It was a really good read. God, this got me. I didn't notice all these books I was reviewing had like V on the back, but that, like, no, not Vendetta. That's V, the old sci-fi, where people were replaced with like lizards, and then they were like eating people. Oh, it was so creepy. It was when I was a little kid, which should tell you how old I was. But yeah, that was a creepy story. I held it up and I was like, ooh. What am I looking at? All right. Next is Ghost Spider, and this is Maguire. I think it's Shauna Maguire. Shannon Maguire. It's spelled Seanan. But I think it's Shannon Maguire is how it's pronounced. I've got some Irish blood, and I'll still mess up Irish names terribly. Miyazawa, Kampe, and Herring, and this is Ghost Spider, issue number 2. This, honestly, the last one I had such a good time with. I loved the art. I loved her story. I like seeing how quirky it was that she was like, hey, I think I'm just going to go to school in Earth 616, and I'm just going to keep my social life back in my universe, and that's what I'm going to do. That's not really a smart way to do things, but it is funny, and it's fun. I'm getting this. She's going back and forth between the universes. She's sort of doing school and superheroing in one, and then she's playing in a band in the other, and I love it. They've made it really fun that she's being pulled in these different directions. So issue number 2, this is what I wanted from this character. It's not aimless anymore. It's really, really fun. I feel like they're definitely stressing out the character, but it's a good kind of stress. It's how superheroes should be. Grappling with like my hidden persona, I guess you could say. And Parker, yeah, it's very Parker. Even though she's doing it between 2 different worlds, which is wild. Yeah.
Well, the thing with the universe hopping is supposed to be really dangerous.
Well, she's sort of got an artifact where she has to get a drop of her blood to like jump back to her universe. Oh. So she's like every time getting a drop of my blood is kind of pain in the butt.
Conan's about to get tapped, man. Blood God in the work.
She pokes her finger and then a little bit like blood God appears and she's like, oh no. Conan's like, I need the champion of Pabst, and him and Wolverine go running by. Conan and Wolverine is just the best buddy team I never knew I wanted. I'm never going to get over this. I'm going to love Savage Avengers till the day I die for that. Okay. Next is Dial H for Hero, and well, the mystique is sort of going. Maybe. They're on issue 7. I have liked the Dial H for Hero. I do like the Hero Dial. I like the whole theme of it. Pretty much the phone rings and you dial H for Hero and then you get superpowers. And there's another villain in play who is doing Dial V for Villain. And he did a mass call to all of Manhattan from the Hero Dial and wound up changing a bunch of people into heroes. Which is, it sucks for that city because everything's going crazy. But we get all these wild characters, and they were really, really fun for a lot of issues. It was wild to see all these new characters, see these wild ones. There were anime ones, monster truck rally characters. Like, it was wild. This entire issue is just, oh, hey, Manhattan all received the call, and there's all these really wild characters, and look how wicked we can get with it. And it's kind of getting a little tired, if I'm honest. That's not to say I haven't had the best time with it. It's just issue number 7 was kind of there was not really much of a point to it. It wasn't too tied into the plot. They do see one of the characters saving the plane at one point, but the rest of the story just felt like filler. So I don't know. If you're on board with this Dial H for Hero stuff, continue. The next issue will no doubt be better. But if you're looking to jump in on it, it's definitely not issue 7. Come pick up the other ones before it. Next is Tommy Gun Wizards, and I remember loving this story, which I still do. It's basically Untouchables if magic was outlawed instead of liquor. And Al Capone is a jerk of a wizard. And there are some people in play who think they're going to exploit Al Capone, and I don't think that's going to work out for them at all. No, I don't think so. So it's a fun take. It's nice to see that somebody's doing something different with that wild gangsters 1920s time, and I'm having a good time with it. It's nice to see the Untouchable characters used, which I'm pretty sure like that is full blown straight out of the Untouchables, which I know they're based on real people, but that character looks an awful lot like what's his name? No. God, it's gonna the guy that SNL is always pitting against Alex Trebek, Sean Connery. Sean Connery, but it looks like Sean Connery's character is in here. I have trouble remembering names, but it's a good comic. The art is pretty good. Actually, the art is really good. I think what does it for me is the art almost looks too gritty, but then like they get the typography, which is like the fonts. And the way like the fonts sort of look old-timey at times, and it looks really, really cool. I kind of love their art direction on this book. The magic system's cool. The story is, it's getting a little weird. The drugs they do to get magic is called licks, and the way they get licks is they get it from a giant toad. Licking giant toads. They didn't really get too deep with it. They just went weird with it. So, that's kind of a little bit weird. But the rest of the story is just amazing. And I don't think it's too late to get in on Tommy Gun Wizard. So come pick this up. Pretty good showing. Next is Superior Spider-Man. And, he's got to deal with Norman Osborn. But not Norman Osborn we know, the Norman Osborn from Spider-Geddon, the one that he teamed up, the one with the multiple arms, and Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is in play, which if you remember the end of Spider-Geddon, so if you don't know, Spider-Man is Peter Parker fell into a vat of spiders, which devoured him, and then all the spiders combined think they are the sentient mind of Peter Parker. So they wear the Spider-Man suit, but when it gets cut, you see like spiders crawl out. And at the end of Spider-Geddon, they were at the Web of Life, and Spider-Man like took himself apart and walked into all realities. So there's a Spider-Man in every single reality, which is super creepy. So I mean, who didn't know that the Norman Osborn mutated Spider-Man with 4 or 6 arms, I forget, that flies around on a skiff, and a man made of spiders were going to turn bad. And it's kind of like he Superior Spider-Man, that was his team that he put together. Like, he picked the people that were more ruthless, knowing that they could, I think the plan was to kill the Inheritors. Yeah. So he put together that team, and he knew they were ruthless, and now it's just bit him in the butt, because that's always what happens to Superior Spider-Man. So is it a good read? It's a great read. It's a great read. I think it's a perfect book to jump in on. More importantly, what he's forced to do and the way he goes is pretty funny. And you remember he put together that team of villains that he caught, and he was like, now you work for me. And and they sucked. Yeah. Well, they get completely owned by Spider-Man. Like, completely owned. They're clearly the joke characters that are just supposed to be picked apart. So, Superior Spider-Man, issue number 11. This is Gage Hawthorne, Von Grabadge. All right, we're having camera issues, but what I meant to say was, Superior Spider-Man is a totally good read. Go pick this up this week. I had a great time with it. Issue number 11 is great. Next is Angel, and, this is the Hellmouth prelude. If you don't know, the Hellmouth is an event in the Buffy mythos where the Hellmouth under Sunnydale High School opens up, and a lot of demons congregate there. A lot of evil, nasty stuff comes through, and that's building towards this. But Angel has actually been putting together his team, I think, years upon years earlier than it's supposed to. So he's already got Gunn and Winifred on, and each of the Angel comics, they read like an Angel episode. And go figure, it's Joss Whedon, Brian Edward Hill, Gleb Milkanov, and Roman Titov. But with Joss Whedon at the helm, of course, it's going to feel like an Angel episode. And all the Buffy comics feel like a Buffy episode. So it's great. This is great. So go pick this up. I think we still have the Buffy Hellmouth prelude too, don't we? Go pick them both up. If you like Buffy, if you like the Whedonverse stuff, you'll have a good time with that stuff. Next is Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. And, well, you know, what are the things that Vampirella always deals with? No, not Blood God. It's just the answer for everything. No, she always deals with vampires. And that's what they're dealing with. They're dealing with vampires. They're trying to get to the bottom of, who pretty much started all this vampire infection, who was infected, and they're trying to kill them and protect poor old, I think his name is Dalton? He's basically the nerdy guy of the Betty and Veronica universe. And meanwhile, Betty and Veronica are trying not to get vamped themselves. This is, well, you know what you're getting. This is pretty much the same thing as the last couple of issues. But it's good fun. It's actually not the worst storyline. I had a pretty good time with it. But really, it does kind of feel like Vampironica all over again, is kind of what it is. But yeah, I'm having a good time with it. So that's issue number 5. Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. Go pick this up if you like Archie or Little Red Sonja or Vampirella. Next is Batman Beyond, and this says guest starring The Flash. And this was, well, honestly, it was a great read. I had a really good time with this. It involves Batman Beyond sort of meeting up with one of his old nemesi, I guess you could say, who is teamed up with, well, Flash. And it looks like it's just Barry Allen Flash. And I don't know, I love everything about, pretty much everything about the Batman Beyond universe. I mean, if I'm honest, Terry McGinnis is such a cool character, and he doesn't get enough love in the comics. Meanwhile, he's sort of, New Gotham is kind of Neo-Gotham, not New Gotham. Neo-Gotham is dealing with the fact that, well, Terry McGinnis might not want to be Batman anymore. He might be coming to terms that he's tired of it, and Gotham needs a Batman. So somebody else might be taking up the mantle, whether or not they want them to or not. So this is a really, really interesting, fun read. It's nice. There's a speedster fight in it, and, Flash has got years upon years of knowledge, so it totally works out well. And that's issue number 36, Batman Beyond. Go pick this up. Next is, well, we need to talk about Shazam, because Shazam is written by Jeff Johns, and Jeff Johns has not met a deadline he couldn't skip. He skips all his deadlines, and this shows. We've got issue 7 Shazam, which has come out, about 3 months after the last issue came out, issue 6. And then, we've got Doomsday Clock, which is a steady 2 to 3 months late after the deadlines when they're supposed to come out. Doomsday Clock was supposed to wrap up at the beginning of 2018. It's wrapping up at the end of 2019. He's missed that by a long time. Yeah. And, sad news is Shazam issue number 8 and issue number 9 have been, effectively canceled right now. Postponed is probably a better word. They basically said they're stopping them, and whenever Jeff Johns gets to the point where he can finish them, they will be finished. And I get it. Jeff Johns is a busy guy. He's working on a ton of stuff. It really does feel like he misses every deadline. But Shazam issue number 7 was amazing. It was a really, really good time. We have all the different characters dealing with the different lands. There's like the magic lands, there's the game lands, there's the earth lands, which is our earth, there's the dark lands, there is, what are they called? The furry lands? I don't know what you call it. But it's been a fun ride. More importantly, the Shazam family is going to wind up confessing to their foster parents that they are superheroes. And that went a lot better than I expected in this issue, so go pick it up. It was a really, really fun read, but so here's the thing. I'm going to tell you something that's a little spoilery, and no, I'm not going to tell you. What I'm going to tell you is that if you know Shazam's original name, his original name, and that form of Shazam, that is mentioned at some point at the end of this book. So what a cliffhanger. We're going to have a cliffhanger with no end in sight. Kind of sucks, but you should still go pick this up. It was a really, really cool read. Next is, the Bridgewater Triangle, Grim Tales of Terror, and there is a lot of horror movie tropes in this, like a lot. Let's see, the nerdy guy is basically he's going to inspect mysterious stuff that happens in the forest for extra credit. And meanwhile, all the other people are going along for, wait for it,
Blood God.
tent sex.
Oh my God.
That's the thing that they say a lot. And eventually, a pair of them actually stumble upon an abandoned campground. Yeah, because that's smart. It's not called Crystal Lake, but it's not far off. So you don't do that. Granted, this is Zenoscope, and it is a Grim Tales of Terror story, and they're intentionally tropey. But the thing about it was the art was actually pretty good. I had a good time with the art, which I don't say that all that often with Zenoscope books, but sometimes it's hit or miss for me. But I had a really good time with the art, and the storyline was, as tropey as it was at times, it went away I didn't quite expect. And it's not just a one-shot. There's going to be more from it. So this is Studler, Goten, and a